Hello students, now today in continuation to our chapter of money and inflation, today we'll be discussing about types of money, inflation and its characteristics. I hope you remember that previously we had discussed what is barter system, limitations of barter system. To overcome the limitations, money got introduced and functions of money it helped to overcome the limitations of barter system. Now we'll today discuss what are the types of money. Now you all know that barter system was actually exchange of goods, even exchange of animals in return of goods or services, and they were also used as a future investment to cater the future needs, right? So in barter system, animals, then slowly stones, precious stones were used as a means of exchange. Then came into picture the metal coins, then government regulated notes and coins, and it was followed by the banking system, credit cards and e-banking system, right? So the six main types of money are commodity money. Commodity money, you can say it is closely related to barter system, because commodity means money. It means that exchange of goods was equal to money. And here we can give examples of commodity money as gold coins, beads, shells, spices, etc. Then it was animal money is the second type of money. Third is metal money. Fourth is paper money. Fifth is plastic money, which we can correlate it to like credit cards and all. And secondly, banking money, lastly, sorry. Right? So these are the six types of money. Now we switch on to a new topic, that is inflation. Now what is inflation? We'll try to understand the meaning of inflation and try to understand the definition of inflation. Now inflation means increase. Now when we are talking about meaning of inflation in economics, inflation means rise in the general price, general increase in the general price level. More, it means that more money will be needed to be paid for goods and services. For the same goods and services which you had been paying lesser money, there is an increase in paying of that money, right? Inflation changes the ratio of money towards goods or services. It means that for one particular service, if you had been paying rupees 50, instead of that now you will have to pay rupees 80 for the same service. So that is called ratio of money towards goods or services. So increase in that paying capacity, you can say, not exactly paying capacity, but what you have to now pay for the same service will be more than what you had been paying previously. So according to AP Learner, situation of excess, that is increased demand over supply of goods, is called inflation. I'll quote an example of, say, oil, because very often we hear that there is an inflation of so and so percentage in oil, right? So we'll quote an example of an oil. Inflation is used to describe impact of rising oil or food prices on the economy. Suppose the price of oil has increased from, say, $75 to $100 for a barrel, then overall its price will increase. How? Look, uh, price for a barrel has increased. Then for business purpose, the amount of money in to be invested from the for the same amount of oil will increase. Then there will be an addition of transportation to it. So finally when it will come to us, we will find a price rise, that is inflation in the amount or cost of oil. And please note that generally inflation is always expressed in the form of percentage, right? Now coming to characteristics of inflation. First characteristic of inflation is there is a constant rise in price levels. Second, there is price rise in all sectors of economy. All sectors of economy means primary, secondary sector and service sector, right? Third characteristics is purchasing power decreases. What does that mean? As I explained previously, that we will have to pay more money for the same service. For example, if you had been paying 10 rupees for some particular service, so now you will have to pay 40 rupees for the same service. It means that purchasing power has decreased. Number of people who would like to now have that service or use that service will decrease. It can be for any reason, because money now needs to be paid more compared to um, what it was being paid previously. So the number of people using that service might decrease, and therefore purchasing power would decrease. And the fourth characteristics is the rise in the price level after full employment is inflation. Now what does full employment mean? Virtually, if you understand, full employment means complete employment. Now if all are employed, it means more number of people will be earning money. If more number of people are earning money, then they'll be having more number of people will be having more desires to be accomplished. For that, the demand generated will be more, and so if demand is more, then what would happen? Then there is an increase in the price or increase in the commodity, right? Now apart from these four features, there are few points for better understanding on inflation. First is, when government keeps control or suppresses increase in price levels via, say, rules and laws, like GST and subsidies will be the classic example, it is considered inflation even if there is no price rise, and this is called suppressed inflation, right? Now second point is, if in an economy for a shorter period of time there is an increase in the price rise of limited goods or services, that is not inflation. For example, looking into the current time, you might be observing price rise in few of the commodities now and then, but that's not going to remain permanent. This is temporary, right? So this is actually not called inflation, even though if you might be paying more money for any of the commodity, but it's not going to remain for a longer time, and therefore it is not called inflation. It is just that currently demand for the commodities is more, supply is less, and therefore there is price rise, right? Next point is, when some factors of production, here factors of production means, it means land, labor, capital, entrepreneurs, all right. So when some factors of productions are unemployed, there is a price rise, of course. Then producers get an incentive to produce more, so economic activity gets a boost and factors get employment, and production rises and prices fall. Now I'll try to quote an example. For example, say in some outward area or remote area, if there is a factory which needs to be started, now the factory owner of course will not be doing all the jobs, right? So he would be requiring laborers, which is one of the factor of production, right? So laborers would be required over there. Now if there are enough skilled laborers in that area, then there will be the price or the pay wages of the laborers would be less. But if the skilled laborers are less, then what will happen? Then skilled laborers would be definitely employed with, say, a higher price, so their income will increase. Income will increase means economic activity gets a boost and factors get employment, therefore factors get more people will be later on enrolled into the factory, so production will increase, and when production will increase, prices will fall, right? And if there is unemployment in factors of production, vice versa, leads an economy, the increasing price of goods or services will allow employment to increase production to decrease price of goods and service. Therefore increase in price levels in all sectors, that is inflation, if there is a true inflation in economy even after full employment, then it proves to be harmful for the economy. Okay, I hope I had been tried to be quite clear, and if there are any doubts, kindly let me know. Thank you. Stay home and stay safe.